So I lived in the UK for 44 years. And like many others globally, I think since the pandemic, it's opened up a lot of people's eyes because of Zoom and Teams and Skype's no longer, but we all wondered, I wonder if I can work from somewhere else. And in the end, I made a video about why we left, family of five, why we left the UK. And we've gone to Malaysia. And people have asked, why Malaysia? And I've made a video on that. But I then realized I've got a whole load of knowledge on all the other countries we looked at. And I thought, well, I'm going to dump everything I know about all the countries. I mean, I've been to expat meets, I've been to 4-day conferences, I've gone round and round in circles on if you're moving, because it took us 18 months to leave the UK. So it's a big deal, and you want to get that first move. Well, you kind of want to get a move. Once you've done one move, we now feel much more mobile. So for us, we knew we wouldn't get it perfect first time, like where we moved to, the house we rented. We knew we wouldn't get it right, but we knew, a bit like in business, you just have to take the step with your best judgment. And from there, you then iterate and try and make better judgment calls. So anyway, I just thought I'm going to get up a map of the world, and I'm just going to tell you all our thoughts on all the countries, and maybe it'll fill some gaps, maybe it'll confirm biases, because I know that's the kind of information I would be after if you are in the position where you're in still your native country and looking globally at where you might go. So let's jump into it. All right, so UK. I don't need to make reasons why you would move there, because I've made so many reasons as to why you would leave there. So where did we look? So I guess this is relevant if you're a European, if you're UK, maybe even if you're US. This may be interesting. Anyway, let's just go for it. Okay, now I remember a time when Canada was seriously attractive. I remember when UK doctors were leaving the UK for Canada. Canada had some scheme where it was like double your salary, you got a house, you got better work conditions. Generally, it was a massive uplift for doctors. This was probably 10, 15 years ago. I have not heard a whisper in the last 8 years about people trying to move to Canada. I think, since Trudeau has been around, all I hear now is people trying to leave Canada with the same issues that we had in the UK, which we won't go into. We're going to look at places that you might move to. So US of A. I find such a chalk and cheese moment with the US of A. So many want to leave, but so many want to get there. I mean, it's such a conflict. You know that, super wealthy, there's all the tech industries. And then on the other hand, you've got this political conflict going on that means so many, like me from the UK, are trying to leave. Now, many US, I know, go to Mexico. We looked at it for a little while. For us, it ended up not appealing. Language is an issue for us. And for our schooling, we didn't find an appealing enough school, even though Mexico as a whole was attractive on a tax basis. There's always the talk of the cartels, and it seems to be in certain regions, and obviously you just avoid the regions where there's cartels. In London, Tottenham, you don't go out after dark. There's danger everywhere, so you just have to pick, I believe, your area. And we've spoken to a lot of Americans that were now resident in Mexico. I think it's it's a preferable tax structure, especially for US citizens. So anyway, it was an interest. Even more interesting for me was this Central America. There's the McAfee he's meant to be dead. I don't know if he is actually dead. He moved to Belize, I believe. And then Guatemala, El Salvador. Lots of people have made bases or even homes here. I know one guy in Panama, and he lives in Panama City, and he's like, it's pretty good for what he for his needs. I think there's kind of expat communities out on the coastline from Panama City. It seems very popular choice, Panama. And the other one that kept flagging up for me was Ecuador down here. Kept hearing about it. I haven't visited Panama. All I hear is stories about people that are going to Panama and are going to Ecuador. I even hear good things about Colombia. I think we're all indoctrinated by the 1990s of just danger coming out of Colombia. But there's lots of people that live there very happily. So again, all these are good for expats in their tax structure, and there's much less government involvement in your day-to-day business. And I think that's what appeals. When you reside in the UK, in the US, all you feel is the government just breathing down your neck. And these countries, there seems to be a much lighter touch, and that seems to be the appeal. We didn't look at any of these around Brazil. We didn't look. Argentina's interesting because the new guy rewriting the economic storybook for that. I've always fancied Chile for a reason. Haven't been there yet, but it doesn't come up a lot when you're talking to other people that are moving around. Peru, again, doesn't come up very much. Now, the Caribbean. The Bahamas has always intrigued me, basically because Sean Connery, 007, moved to the Bahamas, and there's a whole load of other celebrities that live in the Bahamas. And I always think, well, if it's good enough for them, because they could literally live anywhere, it can't be that bad. Again, good tax structure. It's very close to Miami. So I hear of Justin Rose, pro golfer. He finds it close enough. And he has a family, 2 kids, I think. Obviously, they now go to school in the Bahamas. And it's close enough to all his golf in Florida and the US to make it worthwhile. So it's very appealing. Unfortunately, the FTX guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, who is not, I was going to say luckily in prison, but he's in the correct place for him now. He was here in the Bahamas. Again, I think he would claim that he was driven there because the US regulations, and the Bahamas didn't have that crypto regulation. So yeah, very appealing, this Bahamas area. Obviously Cuba not, Haiti not, Dominican Republic. I'm a big fan of Cabarete, somewhere up on this top coastline, because it has kite surfing. And I do need to pay it a visit and get a feel for this place. We've stayed in Punta Cana multiple years during Christmas, and it is absolutely brilliant. So Dominican Republic is really interesting to me. And I know they offer good ways for expats to live there if you have the right money background and all the bits you need to tick. Now, moving on, the whole of the Caribbean is super interesting for me. And I think if it wasn't for schools, for some reason I think that the schools in the Caribbean aren't as good as the schools on mainlands. I don't know if that's the wrong opinion, if I'm really inaccurate. If you know more about the schooling, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, because we kind of think there's not the level that we'd be looking for. Anyway, so Dominican Republic here, Puerto Rico. I know there's a big crypto hub here and a big trading hub. They have Article 50 or something where you can, it has a very close tie with the US, and there's some article which makes it tax efficient for crypto and trading. So I believe there's a big hub there. Again, this is I need to go to Cabarete and I need to go to Puerto Rico. BVIs, we all know about those. Not really that interesting to move to. I don't know why. I actually don't think it's that easy to move to the BVIs. From when I did a little bit of research, it was not straightforward, even being British. St. Kitts and Nevis, super interesting to me. I always think St. Kitts and Nevis, out of all the Caribbean islands, really just keep their head down. And it's a substantial brace of islands with great expat community, and I think they kind of keep it on the low down for exactly that reason. They don't want it spoiled. So I really want to go to St. Kitts and Nevis. Would be very interesting for me to live there. Antigua, we have friends that live in Antigua. They live there all their lives. They perfectly happy Antiguans. So we have we have a bit of a bias. We've been here for a wedding, stayed at Jolly Harbour. You can travel around the whole island pretty well. A friend has just moved here. Again, no issues. He's happy. He's moved there from the Netherlands. The smaller islands I don't know much about. The Barbudas and this, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, I don't know that much about. I've got a friend that goes there once a year to visit family. And again, like, it's one of those quiet ones. I mean, look at it. It's huge. But you don't hear much about it. And I'm wondering if those are the secret, like, good spots. Do you know what I mean? Dominica comes up as well. You can definitely get there if you invest in the country. Martinique, St. Lucia, definitely on the map for expats. I don't know why some seem to be more popular than others. I don't know why. Barbados, being a Brit, we always hear about Barbados. I have been there. I'm not sure I would choose it to live there. I don't know why. It's one of those, it can be down to one thing putting you off. I mean, I went kite surfing there, and over the 10 days I was there, 2 cars at the kite surfing spot on different days were broken into and everything was taken. It's things like that that just put me off. It's silly because I'm sure it happens on all the islands, but obviously the kite surfers are generally tourists, and they're there to spend money. And when locals choose, because I'm pretty sure it's not the tourists robbing from tourists, when you choose to rob the tourists who are there to spend their money, I find it really counterproductive. Do you not want the tourists there? Because if you're stealing from them, that's the correct way to stop them ever coming back. So something as small as that can put me off. So I know whenever you look at murder rates, I know the Caribbean is always like the top of most murder rate tables, and I don't know enough about them to know why, but probably like one bad experience would put you off a particular island. I believe what I read about St. Kitts and Nevis is that they had problems and they have since really tightened up on their police. So I think each island has like an independent police force, and obviously some are better than others. So I think if you're, well, like me, I am seriously interested in the Caribbean islands as a place to live in the future, and I'm guessing it would require a visit to each one to really gauge that safety element, because tax structures, they're all very similar. Cost of living, it seemed like weirdly, Barbados cost of living was much greater than St. Kitts, which was greater than Dominica. So it'd be a very interesting experiment to travel down this line and get a gauge on cost of livings. My parents went to Trinidad and Tobago, and they absolutely loved it. And the bit that fascinates me is I always kind of thought it was kind of up and in the Caribbean. It's right off the coastline. So you'd feel very much attached to like visiting Venezuela and this is French, isn't it? I believe like Guyana. Isn't it just totally French? Anyway. So those are the Caribbeans. A lot of people are interested in this Argentina now since Milei has been involved. I'm standing off Argentina for a bit. I went there 12, 13, 14 years ago. Not going to rush back if I'm really digging into my soul. Okay, let's travel this way. I'm very uninterested in Europe. For the same reasons why we left the UK. I hear good things about Brits in Kenya, but I have no link. I have no knowledge of anyone in an African country. Oman. All I hear is good things about Oman. Obviously, in the August, you are absolutely 50 degrees and melting. So you might want to have a backup plan. Not even a backup plan. You probably want to find somewhere else to be during the height of summer. Loads of people have obviously moved to Dubai, and in the summer they go to Marbella or somewhere else, somewhere less hot. And I hear various stories about Dubai. It sounds like you need a lot of money. That's always been our general take. me and, well, my family, to live on the Palm, to live in, the kind of nicer spots, you need significant wealth. And on a day-to-day basis, you need significant wealth. Some friends from London who are from Dubai have moved back. They've been back for maybe 10 years. So they saw it during, they grew up there. So they've seen the whole transition from nothing to now a mega city. And they still love it. They have no problem. They've got their house. They've got various houses. They just know their way around, I guess, is the trick. And for them, their wealth has grown with Dubai, and they don't find the cost of living there prohibitive. For some reason, me and my missus, we have a bit of a freak out about Dubai, because if planes stopped flying, if there was some kind of conflict, how do they feed people in Dubai? I've actually looked into it, and the government have a whole load of warehouses. They have long-term shipments, short-term shipments, flights. They have a whole infrastructure, all very carefully crafted, so that they never run out of food. And that did make me feel a bit better about it, but it still flags as an issue for me. I've heard obviously, if you leave in the height of summer, you don't have an issue. But if, let's say, you stayed there July and August one year, you are indoors because 50 degrees, 40 degrees is unbearable. And I've heard the air quality in the summer, it's not widely discussed, and it's not really put out there. But the air quality in the summer, I have heard, is one of the worst on the planet. So it is appealing because so many Brits move to Dubai, and obviously they never return home, and they love it, and it's great, and business is booming, access to capital. You pay low taxes, but there's a cost of living to being there. So how you come out, I don't know. If net you're the same, I'm guessing you're better off in Dubai, and you can get more things done in Dubai, it would seem, than in the UK, for example. Obviously, Abu Dhabi, just down the road. I think it's might be an hour's drive between the two. A bit more chilled out in Abu Dhabi, but you don't hear so many people there. They all go to Dubai. So Amman would be an interesting visit, see how that's doing. Again, you've got that summer issue just to deal with. We have family in Doha, and they love it. They go into the desert in the summer, camp out, beautiful. They have a good old time. Right, where else? Eastern Europe. I guess Mr. Tate has put Romania on the map. Would I consider moving to Romania? Not so much. Lots of expats look at Portugal because they have various golden visa programs to bring in wealth. For some reason, Portugal just didn't appeal. We had friends that left the UK, went to Portugal, and they needed to do 5 years outside of the UK, so they bought I think a lemon and orange orchard and a house, and they tried to kind of settle in, but they didn't stay. No particular reason. They said it was a little bit sleepy for them. And my missus, for some reason, she's like, I just don't want to be in Portugal. So basically, it didn't become a thing for us. There is Malta in the news at the moment because the EU has said that their current citizenship program breaks some EU rules. So, surprise, surprise, there's Malta. I know that a lot of Americans, for some reason, they leave the US and they go to live in Italy. I can't think of anything more strange because Italy's as crazy as the US. They unfunctioning governments, corruption. They have all the same issues. Yet I think the US people, citizens, have they somehow think that Europe is quaint and cute and historical. And being from the UK and having been to Italy multiple times, you're swapping like for like. You have, it's for me, it's so not an option. It doesn't even come up in the conversation. Obviously, if you've got mega wealth, you've got Monaco at the south of France here. It's its own independent country, and that's like a racing driver or a Tour de France cyclist. They all live in Monaco. But for me, it's not an option, just purely on the amount of money required. And yeah, if you're from the US, really, if you have this romantic notion of Italy, just spend a few weeks there and realize how dysfunctional it is, and you'll soon be up and out of there. Same for me. The rest of Europe is the same, all dysfunctional, or a place you definitely wouldn't want to be. I know that the Scandi countries and Denmark always get these really high ratings for like the best places to live. Yeah, I mean, if you want to give away half your income every year and half your wealth and be totally stuck, great. Like if you're plugged into the system, okay, maybe it's a good place to live. For me, it is not an option. Same with Ireland. It's sometimes promoted as an expat country. I just can't see it. I mean, if you've been to Ireland for any length of time, the weather's terrible. I'm not a fan of a drinking culture. And yeah, the bits you're going to gain, I think you're going to lose. So sorry, Ireland, I'm not a fan. Right, now we move. I mean, we're going to skip over Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, obviously, Pakistan. We're going to skip over India. Is it even a thing to move to India? I've seen one YouTuber that moved to India and loves it. Good for him. I was always interested, weirdly, as a kid in Burma. I don't know if it's from the Second World War that it, like the history of it, I always thought it like appealed, but they're in a whole conflict at the moment, so it's not an option. Mongolia, China, not an option. North Korea, obviously. Japan, you can't. I think they've allowed one person to move there who's not Japanese in the last 3 years or something. It was something like that. They allowed one person a long-term visa. So that's not an option. Taiwan, I don't think there's an easy way to live there. Now we get to the more interesting spot. Okay. We've been to Vietnam. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely fantastic people. Fantastic everything. Cost of living, freedom, taxes, all were brilliant. Absolutely no problem, Vietnam. It would be right up there as a choice for me. Same with Cambodia. Absolutely fantastic. I haven't been, but all I hear is good things. And you know, they're geographically similar, so there will be similarities between the two. Spent a lot of time in Thailand. Loved it, but weirdly, so what's happened in Thailand for me is it was fantastic. And had I not been there when it was fantastic, I'd probably think it was fantastic now. But because it has changed significantly in the last 20 years, it's now tainted for me. I mean, we've been to Phuket, to Koh Samui, I don't know, might have been to Thailand six, 7 times. It's a great place and the people are completely gorgeous. The problem they've got, or the problem we noticed, was, I'll just give an example, anecdotal, total, rubbish example. So Phuket, first time we went to the beach and there was a row of loungers and you paid however many baht for a lounger for the day. Fine. We then went back to that same beach a few years later. Every square inch of the beach was now covered in loungers. And so you would rent your lounger and you were 2 inches away from the guy next to you and 2 inches away from the person on your right. It was untenable as a beach. I didn't want to lie in a row, like a row of sardines, on the beach with a million others. So, and all the beaches were like that. So it was basically overcrowded. The Phuket roads are interesting. Having been to other Asian countries, Thailand really does. The driving's something to. It's a factor. It's enough of a factor that I've thought of it and mentioned it. And then my biggest problem with Thailand is they're letting anyone in. So they have, I can compare it to Malaysia. Malaysia doesn't have a lot of drink. Thailand does. Malaysia doesn't have any drugs. There might be some, but hidden away. Whereas Thailand has legalized weed. So that's an issue for me because the culture of Phuket is weed and drink and drunk tourists. I mean, the other day I saw drunk tourists abusing the staff in Phuket, or it might be in Bangkok or Phuket, and it just looked horrific. And they've unfortunately for Thailand, because it's so nice and the people are so gorgeous and it's such an awesome place, everyone has flocked there from places, I don't want to say the names of places they probably shouldn't have. And I don't want to say they're ruining the place, but they're ruining the place. When we looked at our school in Thailand before we flipped over to Malaysia, we then went to look at houses and they were all pre-sold to people coming out of war zones. And for me, that is obviously they're getting their money out of their war zone country and dumping it into Thailand for any price. And Thailand's letting them. So I don't know how it's all going to play out, but you're going to have a lot of people there that perhaps aren't there for the love of Thailand. They're there because it's so easy for them to get their money into Thailand and to buy up the properties, make it unaffordable. And then I just worry about how it's all going to play out. Sorry, Thailand. That's a bit of a hit, but I'm in Malaysia. I've given the reasons why I'm here, so I won't go back over that. Now, you've then got Indonesia wrapping around this this area here. Love it, absolutely. We've been to Banda Aceh up here. We are going to go to Bali. Obviously, it's like the place. It's on everyone's map, so it's probably completely overcrowded and full of tourists and supposed digital nomads. And then we've been to Philippines over this side, up to Boracay, which is somewhere up here. All completely gorgeous people. We prefer the slightly less drinking culture places. So Bali probably won't be for us. We'd probably need to go to islands east and west of it. I think Lombok is one. And I have a close friend who loves Philippines and Palawan. I might have just butchered the name. That whole region is completely gorgeous. And again, I think there's ways of staying in Indonesia and Philippines long term if you're an expat like me. I think that's it. For this whole region for me is the place. We feel safe. The people are gorgeous. For us, Malaysia's attracting the right type of people. Oh, Singapore. If you're worried about not feeling Western enough, Singapore's your place, and you can get there. It's I've kind of left it out, but yeah, if you're not ready to kind of mix in, Singapore is the one to really consider. All right, Australia. People always underestimate the size of Australia. It is absolutely gigantic. The map never does it justice. Obviously, most people are trying to leave Australia. Again, 15 years ago, from where I was, people were trying to move to Australia. So it's amazing how quickly countries can do a whole 180. All we hear now is about people trying to leave. I've got a bit of a soft spot for New Zealand. It's probably because of the All Blacks, rugby, and my parents went there and said it was like Britain was 20 years ago. So I would like to visit and take a look. Again, they've got that whole woke issue that might be ruining them. But I think as Western countries go, New Zealand's worth a look. Now, there are loads and loads of little islands. Fiji, we all know Fiji, we all know Cook Islands, French Polynesia, loads of islands dotted around in these oceans. I mean, we didn't mention, but a lot of people, Bermuda is in here somewhere in this ocean. There's loads of little islands that no one ever talks about. I'm just trying to find Bermuda. It's here. Should we just ask Bermuda? Oh, there we go. So I had a friend that lived there for a few years, worked in finance. Oh my God, look, it's literally in the middle of the ocean. God dear. He had a great time. He said he kite surfed a lot, he sailed a lot, he worked, pretty vibrant place. And yeah, I guess it would be an option. The bit people say about not only the Caribbean, but about, he didn't actually say it about Bermuda, was that a lot of people suffer from like island fever and they have to get off island. I guess that's down to you as an individual. Obviously people live there and never leave, but I guess some people feel trapped. And so they get this island fever thing, which is a concern, but you know, nowhere's perfect, is it? Okay, let's whip back across. So New Zealand, yeah, all these islands, and then for some reason, me and my missus have a big hotspot. Sorry, we've got a thing about Hawaii. So for my missus, it's because Gabrielle Reese lives there. Her husband, Laird Hamilton, lives there. Big wave surfing. I've always followed the surf world. A lot of kite surfing comes out of Hawaii. And so both of us are intrigued. And it's like, if we had a bucket list, which we don't, but if we did, Hawaii would be on our bucket list. And we will. We feel like we're close enough now, being just over here in Malaysia, for Hawaii to be reachable, as opposed to when we were in the UK. It felt like it was on the other side of the planet. It's probably the same flight time, but we feel much more mobile. So we will go there. Again, it's a US state, so is it a possibility for expats to move there? Would they want to? I've never heard of someone going, oh, I'm moving to Hawaii. I only hear about people leaving Hawaii. So basically, if we scale out, lots of expats talk about this whole region, both Central America and then the northern part of South America, all very popular. I don't think any one place stands out any more than the other. An issue for us was a lot of the residential visas and citizenships require a certain level of Spanish. That's completely fair enough, but that would mean I would need to study because I do not know Spanish. So just bear that in mind. If you're moving there, you will have to prove language. The Caribbean, you don't have to prove language. It's just this Central American part that you do. I'd love to hear if people have moved to the Caribbean, which island and why. You're probably fairly fluid between them, I'd imagine. Let's say you move to Dominica, but you don't like it, and then you make friends with someone in Barbados. I'm sure it's pretty easy to move from one to the other, I assume. I might have that wrong. Obviously, I do need to go to Cabarete. For some reason, for me, the European tax havens like Malta and Cyprus have never appealed. Dubai, we just think the summer and it's an area of conflict, and we just worry that it could all collapse and you'd have a huge population with no food. I'm sure we're barking up completely the wrong tree and they've got all this sorted, but weirdly it's a concern for us. All this middle section you generally skip over, and then for us, this whole region from all the way from Thailand to Philippines is one hub of awesomeness. And pick your country, because I don't think you can go far wrong. They're all amazing. That's been our general take on things. Love to hear your thoughts. Have I missed somewhere out? I'm sure I have, because I always think that the ones that aren't spoken about are the best ones, and the ones that are, like Thailand, everyone's talking about Thailand, so it's probably the worst one you can go to. And maybe Laos, tucked away down here that you never hear about, that is probably the best place ever. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, where you moved to, where you're thinking of moving to and why. And brilliant. Love the discussion. I think that's it. Bye-bye.